we are back, and we just finished watching 2023's Hitman, which was briefly, I guess, released into the theaters in May, but is now currently streaming on Netflix. This is rated R with a runtime of 1 hour and 55 minutes. This comes to us from director Richard Linklater, with writing credits to Richard Linklater, Scott Powell, and based on, I think they said at the end, short stories in the Texas Monthly by Skip Hollandsworth. This is the sort of kind of real life story of Gary Johnson, exquisitely done by Glen Powell in this. Really, really well done. I feel like I've seen him, well, I don't really watch a lot of his stuff, but in the things that I have seen, I feel like he was more of a side kind of actiony guy. He's in that Top Gun Maverick that we saw. What else have we seen him in?
I don't really recall. He was in that movie with the girl that everybody's fascinated with.
Oh, we saw that, Sydney Sweeney. What was
Sydney Sweeney. Sorry, Sydney Sweeney.
Anyone but you. There you go. I couldn't remember. But, I guess he was the lead in that. He's good at, romantic comedies.
He looks like I've seen him in a lot of stuff as basically just like
side
handsome guy number
three.
In the background.
But here he really digs deep and does a really great performance.
He's fantastic in this. And he got like I imagine this role was kind of fun because he got to play a little.
Right.
I mean, they didn't go overboard with it.
No.
But every once in a while, one of his hitman characters were like that creepy guy with the mushroom hair and
the English accent.
And the weird Russian dude. He was able to play
Christian
around
Bale
with that. The Christian Bale one.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly like Christian Bale. Even his skin looked like sweaty like he did in that movie. You could see he was having fun with that. The writers were having fun. Everybody in this film looked like they were just
having a good time.
And it was a fun story. It
really was. I mean, I'm sure they've embellished from the real life.
I mean, they said so as much at the end.
When they introduce you to the real Gary.
Yeah. Nicest guy, no murders. We made that up. Thank goodness.
Yeah. So that was kind of fun. So let's get into it. This is, I don't know. I mean, according to IMDb, it came out last year. It was in theaters and then is now on Netflix. I'm horribly impressed. I mean, I think all the press about this film is spot on. It's like a really good script.
Yeah,
it's really good script. It's very entertaining. It moves quickly.
It keeps you guessing a bit.
Yes, because at one point I kept turning to you and I'm like, "What is going on? Like, what am I watching? Is she gonna
screw him over? Is she playing him?
Yeah."
But it really was well done. I didn't know how it would end. I didn't know that they would follow it through to the resolution that it came to. And
like Cap tells Bucky, "I'm with you till the end."
With you till the end of the line. I mean, they didn't know each other since they were kids in the 1940s. But they were with each other till the end of the line.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely his film.
Oh, absolutely. He is the main protagonist. He's the narrator. He presents a very interesting character who it makes sense that he's able to do the things that he does given his profession, which is
college,
like philosophy professor.
Yeah.
And they intersperse his teachings throughout the movie, and you get sort of like a hint as to what's going on in his mind through those about basically being able to change the type of person that you are, the discussion that he has with his ex-wife. It's nice that it's presented in this kind of way, because generally when you hear stories like this, it's usually like a thriller or a horror movie or something along those lines. This was a lighthearted romantic comedy
for all intents and purposes. It's funny. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because while I'm watching it, like, I'd read about the film. I didn't deep dive on it. I had kind of a gist of what it was going to be about, but while I was reading some of the things, it felt very noir.
I could see that. It absolutely does not look noir.
It doesn't look
drenched
noir.
in sunlight.
And it doesn't feel like, well, could potentially feel like noir, but it doesn't look like noir.
It has the ingredients for noir. You
right,
definitely have the femme fatale.
Yes, because you like for the most part, like even towards, I think we had like half an hour left on the film. I think we paused it for a second, and I'm like, I don't know what this girl's deal is. I really don't. I'm like.
Yeah, she was complicated.
She really, really was. And then I was like, is she putting me on? Like maybe she just didn't want to be married anymore, or like
I mean, you get the impression the ex-husband, or not really ex-husband, but the husband was like controlling and you could see why she wouldn't want to be in that marriage anymore.
Yeah.
Just the little things like, can I have some of that pie? And just the way she sort of like melts when she eats it, and he's like, he's got me on some diet, and you know that's the sign of a bad relationship when your significant other has you on a diet
where you can't have pie.
You can't do any. Yeah, it's
silly.
not like, I mean, look at her.
Yeah,
I forget what this actress's name, but I've seen her in plenty of stuff. She's gorgeous.
Adria Arjona.
The last thing you'd think of when you looked at her is diet. Yeah, she needs to shed some pounds.
She was in Andor.
Yeah, she was in Andor.
And she was in Father of the Bride. I think I saw that.
I believe she was in that terrible ambulance movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, too.
No, but she was in one of our other favorites, Morbius. She was Martine.
Oh, yeah. I've seen her face quite a bit in.
She was in
movies.
Good Omens. Anathema.
I
don't know what that means.
Yeah, she's getting a lot of work. Whoever, I've already forgotten her name.
She was in True Detective. I don't remember. Person of Interest.
Are you sure she wasn't an ambulance?
No. But she was in Morbius.
Then there's a girl that looks just like her.
I saw Father of the Bride, the Andy Garcia version from 2022. I can't remember if she was the bride or if she plays the sister of the bride. Oh, I guess she's the bride. Right? Yeah, she's the bride. Yeah, I didn't realize that was her, but oh well. Getting back to this. Yeah, so for the longest time, I was like kind of in a limbo because I was like, what's the deal here? Like, I like Gary. I've liked Gary since the beginning, but I don't know how to feel about her.
You really don't know if she is on the up and up.
Yeah.
It keeps you guessing, and that's why I could totally see you saying that this is like, it has
noir-esque.
Yeah, definitely the ingredients for a noir are all there.
Yeah.
Murder and police officers and crooked cops and
yeah,
it's got it all there.
Yeah, and it was just fun. I mean, this is just shy of 2 hours, and yet it moved. The pacing was great. The script was tight. Kudos to Glenn and Richard for putting, because they wrote the screenplay, but for just making this really fun and fresh and interesting. And this, to me, is a better romantic comedy than Anyone But You.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And yet that other film did apparently really gangbusters numbers. Go figure.
Did Linklater also do that movie Bernie with Jack Black?
Yes. We should talk about
He must like doing, because that was also based on a real
something
story. True.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he adds some fictionalized flavor to it, but yeah, that also same sort of I guess you can
over
call
the
it
top
a genre.
Characters. Yeah.
What else is Richard Linklater do?
He does those movies with Ethan Hawke, I think, right? He did Dazed and Confused.
Okay, yeah.
Didn't you do Scanner Darkly, which I've been asking you to watch with me, but you don't want to?
It's not that I don't want to. It's just it's never the right time to watch it. And plus, I've never heard anything good about it.
Really?
Yeah.
You sure?
I never heard a good review of that movie.
All right. He did Boyhood, Before Midnight, Bernie, Scanner Darkly, Fast Food Nation, Bad News Bears.
The remake.
Before Sunset, School of Rock.
School of Rock. There you go.
Which we love.
It's School of Rock. Is brilliant. Yeah.
Brilliant. Before Sunrise, Dazed and Confused, Slacker.
Yeah, so
he's been around for a while.
Yeah,
the other one of his that I wanted to see recently was the animated one, that Apollo 10.5, A Space Age Childhood. That also came out in 2022.
That vaguely rings a bell.
It's on Netflix, I believe.
Does he have just like a deal with Netflix?
I don't know. Maybe. So getting back to this film, Any other thoughts? I mean, I feel like there's not really much to critique here. It's very much a point A to point B
plus
story.
I don't want to give away anything because it does have a lot of twists and turns to it. Not in the thriller sense where you're just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's just the story is intricate and everything makes sense. I like the characters. Seriously, I liked all the characters.
Yeah, even the backgrounds, like the Retta and Sanjay.
Yeah, those
the cops in the van, and even stupid Jasper.
Even Jasper, who I recognize from Walking Dead. Except half his face isn't melted off.
Yes, I was like, I've seen that guy. I just couldn't remember where.
Yeah. It's funny, like at the end when he's like, you see him sideways, he is ridiculously skinny.
Yeah. He really is. I wonder what that's about.
I think my arm is bigger than his waist, and I am not a bodybuilder by any means.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy needs a sandwich stat.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
even he was good, and I liked how he was sort of playing along. You didn't know where he was going with the fact that he was helping Glenn, but helping Gary,
but not
really.
Yeah.
He definitely kept you guessing.
Yeah.
And like you said, I liked the other two police officers. The police chief was kind of just there.
He was, yeah.
But the other two, when they're like he overhears them talking about him.
Yeah.
And he's like, Gary's kind of a loser, but Ron,
yeah, he can get
Ron
it.
can get it.
They both said, like, even the guy was like, I wouldn't even take your sloppy seconds. And it's also funny because I'm glad you also mentioned that, because even the students, like when he's doing towards the end, she's like, when did our teacher get hot kind of thing. So it's kind of interesting how Gary and Ron sort of meld to become this person. And I don't know if it's a spoiler, but there's a sweet scene at the end where Gary basically says, she made me into this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everything came back full circle.
Everything comes around, and it's amazing what parting your hair differently and taking off a pair of glasses can do. Maybe there's something to that whole Clark Kent Superman disguise.
Maybe. We make fun of all that.
Yeah.
But you know what? Maybe the rest of the world is onto something that we're not.
Yeah, maybe it is. I don't know. I think it depends on who's taking those glasses off, to be honest.
Anything else we want to add? I feel like this is going to be a short review because there's really nothing to critique here. I think from start to finish, this is a solid story. On IMDb, it's tagged as action, comedy, and crime. I don't know about action.
I wouldn't say there's... Yeah, what action?
I don't know. There wasn't even like a high-speed chase or anything. Like, I don't know what they're talking about. Action. Comedy,
the only time guns are fired is when he's at the shooting range.
Right.
Yeah.
Comedy for sure. Crime,
yeah, the very comedic moments. Sure. Not like slapstick, gut-busting type comedy. It's just smart humor.
Smart humor, yeah.
The dialogue's good. The way everybody communicates with each other. The way they push the story along, and they cover a lot. There's a decent span of time that's covered in this. It's the entire semester of his school year, and it's just interesting. It's an interesting story. It's kind of bizarre how a guy who's basically a college professor who has a interest in electronics somehow ends up getting roped by the local PD. Into helping them with surveillance, and then gets roped into performing as the hitman, because it's not really giving it away that
Gary's a hitman for hire.
That's who he's portraying himself as. He's working for the police. The police get word that somebody wants to hire a hitman, so rather than a real hitman showing up, they send in Gary or Ron. Or whatever character he comes up with. Yeah. And they listen in, they get the money, they get the confession and boom, done.
Right. I also liked how they you see the courtroom with some of the people that got busted. That was kind of a fun an add-on. And I think that all works, and I think it all adds to the story, because I think from where the story starts to where it ends, definitely Gary goes on this, I guess, quote unquote, hero's journey. And I think the very telling thing, like in the beginning, when he's talking to his ex, when they're talking about people changing, right?
Yeah.
That then becomes sort of the crux
the thesis of the movie.
of the story, right? So from that perspective, it followed through and it did it really, really well. I think that, again, I agree with you. And we say this a million times on the podcast. If you don't have a good script, you don't have a good story. Here, you have an excellent script and you have fantastic actors bringing these words and these situations to life and great production values. I love it. It seems like I don't know if the real Gary Johnson was from Texas because these stories ran in a Texas publication, but they transplant this story to New Orleans, and it was nice to get the sort of ambiance of New Orleans in the background. Not too much. I would have liked to see more of it, but just enough. Like I said, I think they show like the shotgun houses and stuff like that, and that was fun to watch, having been to New Orleans, and you as well.
Yeah.
It's a great town, lively, full of life, whatever. So yeah, I like when all of those kind of threads tie well together. I mean, I always talk about New York as a native New Yorker. I always love seeing my city represented in films. So it was nice to also see that added element here. It doesn't overpower the story, but it just adds a little something extra to it, which is nice to see. Any other comments here?
No, I would just recommend this movie.
Absolutely.
This is a good watch.
What would you give it? 1 to 10?
I'd give this an 8.
You know what? I'm gonna go high. I'm gonna go 8.5. Your favorite film,
Oh,
Fellini?
God. You gotta stop with that joke.
I think it is absolutely a must see. Absolutely, yeah. We don't really get a lot of romantic comedies with sort of a sprinkling of the noir. And
noirs don't usually end up
on a high note, right?
On a high note.
Yes.
Noirs, it's somebody's dying.
Right. Somebody's got to get their comeuppance.
Yeah.
So this doesn't end like that. We won't give it away, but it's, yeah. I think at the end of the day, this is a romantic comedy.
Yes.
Yeah. Not comedic like Step Brothers.
No.
But still in that genre. It's definitely a romance because it's about two people and this journey that they go on. So yeah, top to bottom, really, really well done. The team of Linklater and Powell should be very proud of themselves. Yeah. I'd love to see more of this. This is definitely, and I agree with you. You know, I'd forgotten about Bernie. We should probably get that on the schedule at some point. All right, so 8.5. Absolutely. It is a treat. Go check out Hitman, currently streaming on Netflix. And that's it from us. And we bid you all a
Good night.
good night.